I'm here because I believe television is getting boring. Old and boring. I think the TV that we in this room have spent many hours worrying over and crafting has become duller, less inventive, and less risky. And I'm as guilty as the next person of making some of it.
Good evening and welcome to BAFTA. My name's Krish Majumdar. I'm the chair of BAFTA's television committee. And welcome to BAFTA's annual television lecture. This year we've invited the creative leader, thinker. She's been a CEO, run an indie, commissioning editor, Liz Warner. She was a freelance writer and then she became a freelance TV producer, and she worked at BBC Youth and Entertainment. And when she was at Channel 4 and she was commissioning editor in the features department, during her 4-year tenure, she commissioned the first Grand Designs, Nigella, Hughes River Cottage, Location. She popularised education, women's bits and embarrassing illnesses, social issues from young drinking to the BAFTA winner on domestic violence with Hermione Norris and Mark Strong. She worked with talent like Kirsty and Phil, Davina and Kevin MacLeod, and she was the commissioning editor of the first Big Brother. Then she became the founder of Betty, with a range of programming from Emmy Award-winning drama on child abuse to the BAFTA-nominated Undateables. The thing I really take from Liz and what she does is she's a real moderniser. She's an agent for change, and she likes to be ahead of the curve. And that's why we've asked her to come here today. She likes to think out of the box, and you're going to hear what she's got to say tonight about the future of television. So I'd like to welcome onto the stage Liz Warner. Thank you.
Thank you, Krish, and thank you all for coming. How could I turn down an invitation to talk about creativity? It's a subject close to my heart. It's been the lifeblood, the driving force of my career, a very happy career that has spanned ITV, BBC, Channel 4, and 13 entrepreneurial years running independent production company Betty. But it's creativity I'm worried about. I'm here because I believe television is getting boring, old and boring. I think the TV that we in this room have spent many hours worrying over and crafting has become duller, less inventive, and less risky. And I'm as guilty as the next person of making some of it. They're not as guilty as Sam. It is dying, slowly dying, year on year. We have failed to engage with a whole generation of digital talent. The younger generation are not switching on. Television is failing the young. Don't get me wrong, I've loved television. I've loved its ability to bring character, narrative, and emotion to a mass audience. I've loved meeting so many brilliant people and even enjoyed the work-life imbalance. I still love it when it's at its best, watching the first series of Catastrophe over and over again. Sharon Horgan, you're amazing. But I'm a very instinctive person, and my gut has been telling me for a couple of years now that something in TV was wrong. Really bold, crazy, inventive ideas were getting knocked back. The truly original ideas or pilots that break form were just not getting through, whilst predictable ideas with echoes of the past were all getting made. Commissioners were seeking reassurance over risk, ratings comfort over creativity. I had also noticed that fewer and fewer young people were applying to work as researchers and runners. And the ones that were applying were of a slightly different breed. Where were the naughty ones? When I first set up Betty way back in 2001, we were inundated with applications from sparky offspring of often very well-connected parents. One particular one comes to mind, a bright, posh North London boy related to a rabbi who had never even been on public transport. At Betty, we also worked hard to attract the sparky offspring of less well-connected parents, like Dave Gibson, the northern stand-up, who became the runner and doubled up as the party Christmas star turn. TV felt like a cool place to work. But by last year, the deluge of "I want to work in TV" emails had become a dribble. So I left television, appropriately on April Fool's Day, and I started a trip to the future to find out where the young people were. I went to hang out with the kids, not in an inappropriate way behind the bike sheds. I went to the digital world to hang out with the IT crowd. I started by mentoring a digital indie in Oxford called Angel Sharp, run by bright young things called Hannah, Daniel, Johnny, Amy and Tom, some of whom are here tonight. I've been hanging around Stylist Magazine's office in Lamb's Conduit Street, consulting Director of Digital Maggie Hitchens. I've visited BBC Three, and I've been meeting the staff of Vice, and annoying Andy Taylor at Little Dot Studio with a barrage of questions. I've been to a dreadful YouTubers conference populated by Jims and Zoellas, after which I was virtually suicidal. And I've been on an over 40s vlogging course, after which I was truly suicidal. Hello and welcome to my trends and predictions of the week. First up today is the colour predictions for 2017. The Pantone colour of the year last year was burgundy. These colours are baby blue and baby pink. And I'm predicting 2017 is pea green. Here we go. Pea green is the colour. This is what you've all been waiting to hear. You'll be seeing this on cars, kettles, coloured walls, packaging. The other colour that goes with it is this blue colour. It's a really vivid blue. This to navy, I think, are one of the colours of the year. Together they're quite a strong combination. I'm trying to find them for you together. Here we go. Moving on then to another prediction for next year is Merlab. Here's Merlab. Moving on then to something of slightly more importance, postmen as policemen. So that's the top 5 for today, for this week. Anyway, there'll be more next week. Definitely come back next week because I'll be talking about hot crisps, as well as many other things. Bye for now. Now you see why I was behind the camera for 20 years. So I've been to the future, and it was energising and inspiring. But I'm now back to share what I found with my industry, television. So in the next half hour, I want to ask 4 questions I think TV should be asking itself. Can television afford to lose a generation of talent to the internet? Will television continue to age and shrink? Can we find a way to close the gap between TV and the internet? And finally, where are the future creative geniuses, the mavericks, to grow our creative economy? So I'll start with, can we afford to lose a generation of talent to the internet? I don't think so. It's got beyond being anecdotal, and I think we're facing a creative chasm and a crisis. Headhunters keep ringing me, not to offer jobs I might add, but to ask for references on the same lists of 40-something people. They're struggling to find the new creative directors to lead television. TV's gene pool is in decline. There's been a gradual talent drain, and barely noticed it has become an older people's business. This is refreshing in one way, says the older woman, as there was a time when an older woman struggled to work in television on or off screen. But I think the pendulum has swung far too far the other way. TV has grown old on and off screen. This is because it has been too obsessively focused on its overnight ratings, too focused on the mainstream, and too focused on holding up a declining share. Just look at this. As you can see, this is how many people are watching over the last 5 years. Look at the pink line. 16 to 24-year-olds careering off the scale. Blue line, children to teenagers, rapidly going down. And yet the consistent mark, 35 plus, just staying there, unable to remove their remote control. Every morning in broadcaster land is stressful. Many a breakfast I have had has been ruined at about 9:37, 9:47, as the overnight show ratings come through. It was enough to make my toast curl watching the commissioning editor's face opposite me, as every day is judgment day. No room for failure, experimentation, or flop. Everything has to rate. And we all know that with no turkeys and no flops come no hits. Nothing is allowed to fail or grow slowly. When faced with a choice of which generation to pursue, TV has followed the older generation, and we all know which way the older generation voted exactly 2 weeks ago today. BBC 4 survived and BBC 3 went digital with drastic budget cuts. The major channels have not created any new youth shows. Most children's TV migrated off the main channels, and now so has youth. So what's to go next? 30 to 40-somethings? Middle age? Youth is niche, we know that, and it gets small audiences, but it is also the future. It keeps young audiences connected to TV. So as a result of ignoring youth, the large talent incubators such as T4, Reportage, The Big Breakfast, The 11 O'Clock Show, and Eurotrash simply don't exist. Not only did these shows reach young people, but they attracted bright young minds to work on them. Many of those young people now run television. That's probably why they are remaking 90s hits like TFI, presented by a 50-year-old, or returning to the comfort of remakes such as Cold Feet, or the sitcoms of yesteryear, 7 of which are to be resurrected by the BBC in the next year. It's easier and cheaper to rerun a proven brand than create a new, risky, brilliant one like Catastrophe. This means long-running series, like Don't Tell the Bride, have a second life, being bought by rival channel Sky from the BBC. Or Bizarre ER goes from BBC 3 to young channel E4. And after 13 years, Traffic Cops goes from BBC 1 to 5 later this year. It sounds like the BBC has been selling its second-hand series on eBay. But what this does do is clog up this ecosystem with old material. Television needs to innovate, not regurgitate. It has become overly reliant on reassuring bonnet and blue light dramas, and talent shows demonstrating everything from singing to dancing while singing. Jane Lush, the incoming head of BAFTA, recently said the last real innovation in entertainment was Big Brother, and that was on the 18th of July, 16 years ago. I should know, I remember the day well. As the Paul Oakenfold music pulsed, the housemates all went mad, rolled themselves in mud, and the live feed to the web was held together by a piece of elastoplast. It was groundbreaking, it was really exciting. But television since then has seemed to be becoming increasingly creatively mainstream, all Daily Mail and mature, which may not be a problem in the short term, but it will be a problem in the long term if the under-40s continue to disconnect and TV loses relevance to a generation. We have just seen exactly what happens when politics loses connection with a generation. That should be a warning sign enough. I'm not predicting that TV is over by any means, but TV has got itself stuck in a rut. But we can do something about it. I have some suggestions for giving TV a Botox injection or a collective defibrillation when I come to question 3 and 4. We do have a collective response. So how long have we got before someone finds a note in TV's pocket saying, "Do not resuscitate"? Well, I think, and I actually feel quite seriously about this, I think D-Day is here. I've heard the conversations in broadcaster corridors about digital being a long way off or not something that I need to worry about in my lifetime, but it is. Digital disruption is here now. When the TV ratings are below 1 million regularly, and YouTubers are getting over 1 million, the digital disruption is upon us. Media analyst Richard Broughton said, the traditional TV economy is stagnating, and new drivers, social media, social video, and multi-channel networks are pushing the market forward. So there is a warning, and we should heed it. We now have a generation who've grown up doing this and not doing this. Generation don't watch television. Why would they want to work in it? They're growing up with Peppa Pig on YouTube as their first port of call, not CBeebies. They're watching lip balm tutorials and how to plait their hair, not Blue Peter. I moved house last year and didn't take the television. Not a surprise to many of you. Not one of the 3 teenagers in my family has complained. They watch YouTube clips or sport on a laptop. They download the Dumping Ground drama from iPlayer as a series and watch every episode. If TV doesn't provide the puerile, risky, or anarchic, young people will seek it elsewhere, online. Not only will they seek it, but they'll make it. Which is why boys are filming themselves liquidizing rats or worse, or wrapping phones in burritos and dropping them out of windows, I saw the other day. Girls are doing the falling trust test, which, if you don't know, is a thing where you it's from Mean Girls, where you just fall backwards and see if your friends catch you randomly. Or they do the no makeup challenge. But it doesn't need us to look too far back to realise that this was the stuff of youth TV. You might even remember Can You Live Without? It was a hit show on Channel 4 in 2000. It did Can You Live Without Makeup? And the word showed people bathing in maggots or licking sweaty armpits on a weekly basis. Users are generating their own entertainment, making You've Been Framed moments daily. They don't need access to broadcasters. They don't need expensive equipment or networks. They have iPhones and YouTube. Digital is raw, honest, authentic in nature, it's intimate, and it has a direct dialogue with its audience. Here is Joe Wicks, the buff young man called the Body Coach. He gets lean in 15, and apparently you do too. Joe is an internet star, a publishing fitness sensation. A young fan said to me recently, when I watch him on his terrace in Surbiton, he goes out and does some press-ups, and he talks to me. I believe he's doing it for me. The raw shooting style, the direct manner, the unstarred flat, all authentic, real, and cheap to make, and over 1 million are watching. But TV online, whether it is a doc made on an iPhone for Vice, or an internet mini-drama made by an aspiring writer using her friends as actors, or Joe here working out on his terrace, is relevant to the new generation. It's by them, for them, and of them. A young digital producer said to me only this week when I was talking to him about this, we are the digital democracy, and everyone can make it. Television is the dictatorship, with a very small, very narrow group of people, sometimes only one dictator, telling us what we should watch. That is why we in television should worry, as young people prefer to be making their own entertainment for their generation, even if it's on a teaspoon of a TV budget. And they aren't all making dross, or watching dross. Meet Tom. I mentioned him earlier as one of the bright young things. He has a 2-1 in physics, a master's in film, and I quote his online CV. Sorry, Tom. I am broad-minded and cheery. I'm well-read. I prefer a creative approach that doesn't regurgitate what has come before. Tom shoots and edits his films, as do most digital natives. 25 years ago, he might have been a perfect candidate as a BBC production trainee. Now 24, Tom has just got a job in London. Only Tom is not working for the BBC or for an indie. He's working for Google, making witty listicles for Diagonal View. Let's have a look at what Tom watches.
Thanks, Liz. Hi, I'm Tom Shannon. There are 8 people my age in my house and no TVs, and this is all the content I watched last week. So what do I watch? Well, a lot of the content is educational, but simultaneously entertaining, and there's a whole stampede of this stuff being made every day.
Are humans going to go extinct soon?
Is there a line where a pile of your cells stops being new?
The universe is expanding. That means in the past it was denser, more crowded, and hotter.
There's a lot of things with countably infinite parts, but uncountably infinite things between them.
Some of these are created by lone people working in their bedroom, while others have whole teams shooting in proper studios. I like a bunch of comedy too. The Daily Breakfast Show, Good Mythical Morning.
Good mythical morning.
Although I watch it at dinner time because of time differences. There's established comedians like Richard Herring with filmed weekly podcasts, and even high-budget shorts by traditional networks. And then there's that type of content that's unique to YouTube. A toy and curiosity collector who walks us through the objects he's collected, or the infamous vlog. That's what this is. In these, you can find inspiring people to engage with, people like Grace Helbig, or Hannah Hart, or John Green.
I was always behind and stressed out.
I also like less personal vlogging type content from trans activist Kat Black, or journalist Owen Jones, or film critic Mark Kermode. A particular favourite channel of mine is The School of Life.
When we have to pay a lot for something nice, we appreciate it to the full.
And finally, PBS Idea Channel, which has 10-minute video essays looking at pop culture and modern life. It's incredibly engaging, and believe it or not, there is active, civilized discussion in the comments section. With YouTube, there is such a diversity of content that anyone can find something that is valuable to them. I often hear in response to this, how do you know where to find the good stuff? You know, The stuff I will like most things in real life, it comes from exploring and on the recommendations of friends. So, go check out this video. Cheers.
Tom is just one of a swathe of talents. I've met many in the year, and he represents a generation. Meet Isaac. He's also a digital rising star, Chief Creative Director of SBTV, who left Channel 4 commissioning recently, preferring the creative freedom and democracy of YouTube. Danielle, 27, wrote and launched her debut drama, Dear Jesus, on the internet. Would TV have backed a newcomer, commissioned a black series on a fashion writer called Mercedes? I doubt it. And Jack Harries, 23, a YouTube star who's seeking longer form content and documentary. Who's there to teach him narrative film and invest in his longer form material? These are the people TV needs. TV needs their talent, their energy, their ideas. But to them, TV is risk-averse, too uptight and dull, slow and convoluted. TV has too many constraining rules, too many restrictions to entry, and boring offices. Sad when television was the glimmering flame to the nation's talented moths. From a young Stephen Fry to Stephen Frears, from Jane Root to Jane Featherstone, James Corden to Jamie, Shane Meadows to Shane Ritchie, and Pat Llewellyn to Postman Pat. TV used to be part of the 90s cultural agenda, part of Blur, Britpop and Cool Britannia. It doesn't feel cool anymore. It's more of a warm bath or a nice Victoria sponge for an ageing demographic. So on to question 2. Will television continue to age and shrink? Yes, it will if it continues down the same path of risk-averse, culturally bland programming. And yes, if it fails to bring young people in with entertainment, comedy, and mischief, all genres in decline. And if you need evidence, here it is. Look at the blue, the 3, the 4. It's self-explanatory as you go up to the 29% of 65 plus. I think it says it all. Television does, however, hold the trump card. It might be older, but it holds the wealth of advertising. Mainstream terrestrial TV controls the bulk of a $5 billion spend between select few channels. The funding for the shrinking, wealthy, older market is increasing and has increased for the last 5 years. Advertisers know television can guarantee an audience. They're there. It might be smaller and older, but they're sitting there and engaged for a program duration. Although internet advertising spend is larger and increasing, its value per view is in free fall, as advertisers have little idea or no control over who is watching, and with one click, their ad can be dismissed. So while advertising is increasing its spend on traditional TV on that section of 29% grey, there is no motivation for TV to change. Maybe an honest look at the average age of the viewers of the mainstream terrestrial channels might spark an Austin Reed or BHS moment. We all know the viewing figures are gradually in decline, but just exactly what is the average age of the viewers of each channel? I commissioned a special piece of research to reveal just that, and we have the results in a moment. In terrestrial TV, we know drama is having a moment, as everyone has realised it has a longer shelf life, downloads well, and streams well. Soap and live events still thrive across all generations. Strictly and Bake Off defy the trends. But isn't it telling when Angela Rippon, 71, is in such high demand? Channels fight over Anne Robinson, also 71. Prunella Scales, 84, has dementia and is filmed on a boat trip and gets a cult following. And The Real Marigold Hotel is the highest rating show on BBC Two and immediately recommissioned. Presenter wish lists are now starting with Gloria Hunniford, Joanna Lumley and Penelope Keith. It's not the age of the presenters I take against. I like old people on TV. But it's the sheer amount of commissions and the lack of imagination in many of the ideas, the wandering around Britain with a certain person, and the lack of youth in the mix. Is it any wonder that Caravanner of the Year and Paul Merton's Secret Stations is driving young audiences online? TV is super serving a certain sector of the population, some of whom don't even have to pay the license fee.
I'm Prunella Scales.
And I'm Timothy West. We've been husband and wife for over 5 decades. Cast off, please.
Aye, sir.
Canals wind through our lives, carrying our treasured memories.
Great canal journey. Vanilla Scales and her husband, it's her husband, yeah. It seemed like it was natural, and that's what I liked about it. It also was very peaceful.
Wow, what size bed is that?
Well, that's the Sultan's bed.
I enjoy it when I watch people of my own age on television.
Oh, gosh. The Big Book of Breast 3D.
All those beautiful houses that they show on the television.
Wow, gold.
So what do you think of this room?
I think it's large.
I like to watch those.
What I really would like is a flush toilet.
Old people like myself, you look forward to the evening. You're not bothered telling.
Have you got your loo roll with you?
Oh, I never travel without it.
Morecambe and Wiseman, they were good. The humour, it's good, nice, clean humour. That's where Angela Rippon came in.
I'm not a Ferrari anymore. I'm a sort of, hopefully reasonably well-preserved vintage model.
Judith Dent, Joanna Lumley, yeah, bring them all back.
Dad, Tommy, you look at it still draws a crowd in.
I like Murder, She Wrote. Yes, I watch Country Files sometimes. But I have to go now because my bus is coming.
A seasoned national newspaper columnist recently likened the terrestrial channels not to the Daily Mail but to the Daily Express. He said they always do well with royals, a cure for Alzheimer's, house prices, and a cold snap. But one cold snap too many, or they forget the flu jab, and the viewers will be gone. Bearing in mind that the mean age of the population in the UK is 42, shall we now please celebrate the average age of the viewers for the main channels? So I'd like to start by announcing the happy birthday to BBC One. Happy birthday, you're 62. And that's with EastEnders. Without EastEnders, it's going to be probably even older than that. Moving on, BBC Two, surprisingly, is also 62. Come in, happy birthday, BBC Two. It's actually 62 and a half, so it's a little bit older than BBC One. ITV, welcome in, you're 60, happy birthday. Next is Channel 5, coming in at 58. And Channel 4, the youth channel, the one I'm really fond of, coming in at even older than me. Channel 4 is 55. And maybe anyone in the audience would like to guess the age of E4? 42, 42. To the lady in the black. Thank you, everybody, for the cakes. Thank you, Tim was head of cakes. Thank you. Thank you, Enders, for that hard-won research. You can imagine how difficult that has been to extract, work out, etc. So TV is not the only business with this issue. There are parallels in other industries. Look at the housing market. The value all rests with the older generation, and the younger generation can't get a look in. Or look at the food industry, where the supermarkets have made the food offering so mass an appeal that it lacks dirt or surprise, and it's the artisan food suppliers, the food vans and farmers markets that are thriving, or the price disruptors like Lidl and Aldi. This disparity, or rather this chasm between older mainstream holding the wealth and younger artisans making iPhone TV in their bedrooms, brings me to question 3. And this is where it does get exciting and challenging to all of us. So to recap, if question 1 is, can TV afford to lose a generation of talent to the internet? The answer is a resounding no. The second question is TV going to continue to shrink and age? The answer is, it does so at its peril. And that takes us on to the third question, which is, can we find a way to close the gap? I think TV needs to turn and find a way to work with digital talents and spend real money in this area. Not commission 3 shorts for its on-demand service. That is not a digital strategy. Genuine money spent will help forge a genuine connection with a younger audience and shift value to longer-form digital. But when television holds on to the lion's share of wealth, why would you leave the luxury hotel of television and mix with the digital natives outside the barbed wire encampment? You have to, because youth lives there and the future is hiding in there, and we need to find a way. Otherwise, it's like television executives and talents are in a cave. They're looking inwards, and they can see the flames flickering on the walls, but the fire is behind them, and it will follow them in. There have been some small investments, ITV and Channel Mum, Endemol and Endemol Beyond, All Three and Little Dot, and ITN invested in Diagonal View, but tiny in comparison to the opportunity. The gap between TV and digital is wide. It's a chasm of talent. It's a chasm in terms of language and understanding and wealth. But as Evan Davis or any Harvard graduate would work out, a gap in the market is an opportunity. It's where the future opportunity lies. If I had 10 million or even 100 million to invest, I would mine the gap, invest in creative risk, and stop consolidating the traditional TV market. Further consolidation is in danger of buying some overpaid employees and disincentivizing a new generation of real entrepreneurs. Walter Yuzzolino, the curator and presenter of foreign drama channel Walter Presents, spotted this opportunity with curated content. When walking from pitch to pitch around London, we talked a lot about the future potential of this new era, and we shopped a bit too. He's gone into it successfully with curated archive on Walter Presents, and I think the future will hold many more models like this for curated archive and commissioned original programming. But it needs more bold, creative and business minds. We can't spend the next 5 years quoting Vice, a Canadian blokey import, as the only success story. Tony Garnett, a TV drama force majeure, now aged 80, who created great dramas such as 90s hit This Life, wrote in March this year, "We should be closing a shameful gap and release pent-up creativity." He said the BBC should be creatively exploring the possibilities of digital media, renewing the creativity of the formula-driven main channels. He was so right. The BBC and others should be investing a large amount in digital content, not just BBC Three. We in the UK are known for our cultural wealth. We're known for our talents and our voice. They all need a UK platform. Should we create a new Channel 4 for the internet, a newly licensed, part ad-funded multi-channel network? I think so. Or license and launch a national PSB portfolio of online digital curated channels. We need to do something before YouTube, Google and Facebook suck our UK intellectual rights back up their USA pipelines and hoover up the ad spend without investing back in the UK content. Or before all our children say awesome or awesome. We need to be investing in the UK digital content and its cultural agenda, not leaving it to the US tech companies to drive the agenda. The next apple should be grown in the UK. We have some of the best orchards. We are the world leaders in creative content. So the new channels, the new Netflix, the new Amazon, and the new Pixar should be UK grown. It's not just the salty inlets of California where innovation comes from. It can be Exeter, already home to Crowdcube, or Oxford, already home to 60 digital indies, or Manchester, Newcastle, or Bournemouth, or Hastings. As young people can't afford to live in London, it's likely the new orchards will evolve outside the capital. And this would also help connect the disenfranchised who feel London is another country. Come on, Britain, we have a voice, and it's getting drowned out on the internet by American accents. We have many intelligent, culturally diverse and interesting voices, and we should be investing in the future creative industry. BBC Three was a bold foot forward, still yet to prove itself. All four a small step in the right direction. And Vice has cracked it with a young male audience, but it is a magazine with some videos, not a fully fledged online digital channel yet. But hey, investors are throwing money at its promise. The very least we should be doing is talking about a UK online channel that curates and commissions, breathes new life into hundreds of small startups and digital indies who are waiting for the money that TV currently receives to show you how to make food against the clock or how to avoid Alzheimer's. Tech has Old Street, TV has Soho. Where does digital content belong? It needs a UK home. Tech giants need our content to add value. We have the content, and we need to be the world leaders in the creation of drama, factual, satire, comedy and entertainment. The plethora of young digital companies want the money to move on from their listicles and vlogs, to supply long-form TV to Generation Rent, for whom 9 new property series and Homes Under the Hammer are not relevant. So fourth and final question is about the red squirrels of Britain. That's in case you don't know what a squirrel is. By that, I mean, where are the future mentors and mentalists? It seems TV has become invaded by grey squirrels. By red squirrels, I mean the truly eccentric, creative geniuses who are often difficult to manage or don't conform to HR rules, but come up with hits. If TV is thinking of entering the digital world, it needs to recapture some of its own lost youth. I threatened you with Botox, and here it is. TV greats need to find their digital avatars, and I think every great creative who sold their indie, consolidated, or benefited from a large, healthy TV salary should be looking to find and help fund the future. Campaign magazine headline only 4 weeks ago was about how the ad industry had failed to succession manage. So has television. Should television have its St. Martins or Slade, where dinosaurs like me can share narrative skills with the creative upstarts of the future? And TV needs to put fun back on the agenda. The wealth is in TV, but it's not being spent correctly. It's being spent on re-edits and fine slicing. It's being spent on giving everything too much attention. Some things need to be let go. Some things need to be crap. And some brilliant. When I worked with 400 people under 30 at BBC Manchester, every Thursday we had transmission drinks, to the point where Friday was spent eating chips and lying under our desks. We had a laugh. My BBC interview was a night out in Manchester, during which my car was towed away. My second interview with Janet Street Porter, she was lying on the floor with a bad back, so couldn't get up to see me. She yelled a couple of questions at me over the desk, and I had the job. I'm not suggesting licence-funded alcoholism, just more hedonism, and work in TV being more fun and flamboyant, somewhere where crazy ideas can fly, where showmen and eccentrics are celebrated and nurtured. It's not about lots more money, but an adjustment of attitude, less uptight, less controlling, and less agonised. Digital TV could teach us all a lot. Creativity is born from risk, from freedom, rule breakers and mavericks, and eccentrics. Not all of them are easy people, I'd like to say. But we need Stephen Lambert. I can't believe I'm saying that. And God bless her, we need Hilary Bells. We need Chris Morris, John Rowland, Kate Techman, and David Glover. TV has become overrun by process, intervention, and focus grouping grey squirrels. Creativity doesn't come from organised management creative breakfasts. That is like asking M&S middle management to design the knickers. And we all know what trouble M&S are facing. So much so they brought in Alexa Chung to go through the archives. So Old Father TV needs to not watch the flames on the cave wall, but turn and run towards the digital flicker and take part. And that doesn't mean hiring an Oxbridge graduate who has an Instagram account and only uses it to regram other people's work. It means investing in a creative sector, in a new form of video content, and harnessing the talents of a whole generation. It means embracing a new intimacy, authenticity, and honest shooting grammar. It doesn't mean iPhone overtakes HD. There's room for both. Though if some TV was filmed on iPhone, that might leave some money for a party. It could be a whole lot more fun working like natives than second-guessing what a 90-year-old tribute show might be, or making yet another makeover series with 3-part reprises and a clink of Prosecco glasses at the end. It's exciting. The future is very exciting if it holds some of this risk and all of this potential. TV is the new TV if we can close the gap and go native. TV is becoming old and boring. It is dying on the vine. And unless we harness young digital talents, we will fail the young. Our children deserve more than how to braid your hair on the loo, or 5 cats that look like Martin Freeman. The people making content deserve to be paid more, and future digital talent needs incentives, or we will get what we pay for. The 3-year-old Peppa Pig screen swipers of today deserve freedom from branded material masquerading as editorial. My children and yours deserve British satire, British comedy, niche pleasures, a varied diet of factual shocks, surprises, humour and enlightenment. They deserve editorial integrity and British well-made content with a beginning, middle and an end. So please, please, let's get naughty again. Let's break the rules. Let's challenge form, mash generations, and spend some serious money on the digital future. I should have said the end, shouldn't I?
The end, the end.
The end.
The thing is, Liz, I really love Paul Merton's Secret Stations.
How old are you, sir?
Thank you, that was a really fantastic talk. Not going to mention that. I guess I'm here for two reasons. Firstly, you couldn't get Joe Wicks. And secondly, I actually did the first ever interview with you in a national newspaper, I think about 15 years ago. And I was 20-something and you were 38. And I actually read the piece. And actually, you were worrying about the things then. Same things, basically, the same themes. So I guess the first question is, what has changed? And is it really any worse?
Television any worse?
Yeah.
Yes. What's changed is the viewing habits have changed and technology's moved so fast. And obviously I was ahead of my time then, predicting, and no one's listened to me. I suppose technology's moved on at a pace and TV hasn't moved at the same, TV creativity hasn't moved with it. I mean, we at Betty had a digital person sent on attachment, Tom, who was sent from Channel 4, and no one knew what to do with digital Tom. So he was sort of, the two languages didn't mesh. People didn't know what to do with him.
But people were worrying intensely then, weren't they? Do people just always worry in TV? I mean, I work in print where we worry too, but it seems TV have a particular neurosis.
I think they worry more now than they used to.
Yes.
I mean, when I was at the BBC, people didn't worry so much.
Yeah. But I guess the question is, how do you change attitudes towards risk at, say, the BBC or Channel 4 when you do have the pressure of daily ratings?
That's a very big question for them. I think that you have to hire people who like risk, and you have to be risky. I mean, I think you have to embrace more of a risk culture. I think that probably some indies have a risk culture, but I think that also all corporations have run the chance of becoming fossilised and less risky as they get older. So they've got older. So it's a case of employing younger people who are more likely to take risks than perhaps the management are.
Given that their demographic is, like you said, 62, can they afford to take risks?
Well, if they don't, it's all going to go off the edge of the cliff. So they need to take risks, even to get the 30, 40-somethings. And I'm saying that they need to take risks by investing in digital content. So I'm not sort of saying that the digital content all needs to go on Channel 4. I'm saying that there needs to be new platforms as well.
Also, I guess you're in a funny position in that you're working in kind of innovation and youth and so on, and yet you're not necessarily of that demographic. How do you personally keep fresh? I know you're an obsessive Radio 4 listener. So
I love Radio 4.
And I bet you actually do watch Paul Merton's Secret Stations.
I do not watch Paul Merton's Secret Stations. No. But I do listen to Radio 4 obsessively in the car. I've always been a bit of a creative magpie. I read widely and I talk to people a lot. I think that's what I do. So I hang out with, I listen to my own children. I've got 9 godchildren. I listen to what they're all saying as they grow up. I like being with young people, even though I'm not a young person. And they feed you, don't they? And I read really widely.
Do you ever watch anything or deal with some new technology and think, I don't get this?
Yeah, every day.
Really?
I'm technologically useless.
Everybody
knows that. I can't even operate the printer.
Oh, really? So do you use Snapchat? And
I do not use Snapchat.
Right. Do we need to know about this new technology if you work in TV?
Yes, you do sort of need to know. But I mean, I'm not going to have to operate it. I don't have to do it all. Like, I can't edit a TV programme, but I can still tell you what is good and bad in the programme. I can go to an edit and say, that bit's boring and that bit's whatever. I don't have to be able to do it all.
How do you feel when you say watch YouTube? I mean, which doesn't have, say, the production values that the stuff you make?
I find it obsessive. I mean, yeah, I go through and I watch bits of this and then I watch bits of that, and I think you can find all sorts of different things that I would never have thought of a year ago before I turned my telly off.
So, I mean, if you were, say, 21 and starting out in telly, where would you start now?
If I wanted to work in terrestrial TV or any
Or
TV.
just in creative
Oh, okay. Well, I tell you what I would do is I would start filming. I would use my phone, or I would beg, steal or borrow or save up to buy a camera, and I would start making TV and I would upload it. Because now you don't have to wait for anybody else to do that. So you can go and make a little documentary, or you can go and make a comedy, you can do it all. So I would just start. It's so much more difficult to go into TV, and if you go into television, why would I be wanting to go to make Paul Merton's Secret Stations?
Fair enough. Isn't the problem, though, that it's not necessarily easy to make money that way? And
it's really difficult to make money, and that is the problem. That's the rub of the whole discussion, is what I'm trying to say, is that the money needs to shift to the next generation. It's fine if you start making a little documentary on your iPhone, but when you want to move on to making a longer form piece, you need money. And you might need a bit more kit, and you might need some lenses, but so it needs to move on. And at the moment, the main money for short form is branded.
yeah. And how switched on do you think the established broadcasters are to digital? I mean, you've talked about the things they need to do. How receptive do you think they are?
Well, I don't know, but to date they haven't been. I mean, they've been trying, but it's been small, incremental steps. I don't think they realise that it's, well, they must be realising that there's a crashing generation gap coming down the line, and it's just shifting that way.
And in terms of all the stuff you watched for this, in preparation for this lecture, what were you most impressed by? What were the most inventive and interesting things?
I've been with people for the last year, so I've been impressed with people like Tom and Danielle and, you know, who's the young writer. I've been more impressed by the people than anything else. I've met some amazing people. So having been into all these worlds for a year and having mentored some and worked alongside them, I just see innovation, and I see people. The great things I see is multi-skill as well. So in TV, it would all be delineated. There'd be a graphics person, there'd be a cameraman, there'd be a sound man. And when I went to work with Angel Shop, I go in and they're operating, they're editing in their bedroom. There's 5 Macs and they're sitting there. And I went, oh, that's brilliant. Who did the graphics? And they went, I did. I said, no, that really nice, funny, warm voiceover. Who did that? I did it. So they do all of it.
And what was Vice like? Was that any different?
I haven't been into Vice. I've only met the Vice staff out of Vice.
Oh, I see. Okay. And how did they compare?
They're slightly different in that I've probably seen hands-on experience more at Angel Shop than at Vice, but young people who want to tell stories.
But are they necessarily any different from, say, the young people when you were starting out?
No.
They're basically the same attitude, right?
Yeah.
They want to do fun stuff, original stuff.
They're not that different.
Yeah.
But they're the people that aren't going to television.
If you were like launching Big Brother now in 2016,
yeah,
how would you do it differently, given everything you've talked about here?
It's difficult because everyone's so knowing now of reality TV, and the brilliance of its original iteration was that they didn't know what they were going into, and I think that made the first one and almost the second one unique, because it did feel like something so new. How would I do it differently? I would probably start it probably not on television, but it didn't start. I mean, we started with 3 little-minute trails at 10 o'clock, and it went live on the web. So,
or even when it started?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it literally was stuck with elastoplast, the tape like that, and it went live on the internet. So, it was ahead of its time. And then the live feed went out on E4 the year after, which became sort of compulsory viewing.
It's pretty damning that that's still seen as the last, as you said in your lecture, that was the last great big innovation in creative content on mainstream TV, isn't it?
I don't think they come every year. I don't think everyone can expect them, you know, but
It's been quite a long time, hasn't it?
It's been quite a long time.
You're known as a champion of diversity, and you've been talking about technological innovation here. Do you think the two things are linked, that if you innovate technologically, you necessarily are more diverse?
I think you could and should be. I think what it does is it should make things more open to all. So, you know, when people are sort of saying it is a democracy, it doesn't have to be filtered through white middle class people, does it? YouTube doesn't have any inhibitors to entry, does it?
No. If you had to give yourself some advice, if you could meet your younger self, what advice would it be?
In terms of TV?
Yeah.
Don't take it so seriously.
Did you take Big Brother very seriously?
Well, we all took it terribly seriously. I mean, it was so serious that even when Nasty Nick was like, whatever, we started to believe it was sort of like a national issue. And we even got in like people to come and bug sweep the whole house because people actually started to believe the conspiracy. We got such in a bubble, we actually started to believe it. So it was really weird. I would say never be afraid. Don't be afraid of anybody. Don't be afraid of commissioning people. Don't be afraid of broadcast. Just don't be afraid.
Were you afraid?
No.
No.
No, that's something my father taught me. So I think it's really good to not be afraid. I think the thing is hire the best possible. If you get into the situation where you can hire, is just hire people better than yourself and hire the best people possible around you. Don't be intimidated by their skills. They can only help make you look better.
What a brilliant talk it was, really stimulating, and really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Having a hit show is the best feeling in the world. The second best feeling in the world, let's face it, is someone else's show failing. Come on, come on.
So we know how to balance classes so that people form collaborative teams with complementary skill sets, and we even know how to build communities that are passionate about our games.